All I want for Christmas is a real estate crash. Hey everybody, Scott Walters, buckle up, strap in. We got a hard-hitting pull, no punches, no sugarcoating it, no rainbows, no sunshine. I'm just going to give it to you and give it to you straight. We got a good one to unpackage today. Welcome to the show. I hope everybody's doing great. So all I want for Christmas is a real estate crash. Well, it's a lot of you out there. If you don't own real estate and you've been on the sidelines patiently, you're cheering for a crash. Now, we got to be careful what we wish for, because a real estate crash means a big, fat, ugly recession will accompany it. So this is very multi-layered. Now, for me, I'm on crash watch, and I work in real estate. I own real estate. I love real estate. I enjoy helping you guys with your real estate. But the reality is this. I know anytime you overheat the U.S. housing market, the way we just did, in fact, it's going to have some crash risk on it. That's why for me personally, especially during the euphoric seasons of this real estate bubble, where it was just straight up to the moon. I held tons of open houses. I toured many open houses. I talked to a lot of agents, and I would let them know. I would ask them, I'd say, how do you feel about this market? Do you think there's any crash risk here? And some of them came out of their skin. No crash risk here. At this time is different, blah, blah, whatever. I mean, they got it upset. Now listen, they got angry. And anger is fear turned outward. Anybody that gets angry is actually scared. That's their built-in self-defense mechanism in order to cope with it. But the reality is this: anybody that's been around real estate for a while, and it's shocking to me because I've talked to a lot of seasoned agents that actually drank the Kool-Aid on this one. The reality is this: you don't understand how fragile this market is. This is a very fragile market. So I don't care how long you've been in the industry. I don't care what your position is. You've never seen anything like this in your lifetime. So anybody to guarantee or promise you or any version of that say no crash risk here, not only wants to sell you a house, they have to. Their own house depends on it. And listen, I've seen a lot, I know you have too, a lot of grandstanding agents out there. I just bought my new house, or I just bought my new car. They base their cost of living on temporary stimulated income. Short-sighted, dumb. A lot of people will not weather this storm. But the reality is this: it's very hard to time the bottom of a real estate crash, but we'll do our best. But it's pretty easy to time the top. And I believe we've in fact identified the top of this real estate bubble. But here it gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. This wasn't just any real estate bubble. This was the biggest one ever witnessed in human history. That alone should have your full and undivided attention. Now, luckily for you guys that watch the show, you're in touch with this, because we know the U.S. housing market is in fact the biggest financial asset class in the world. If we lose it, we will lose everything. It'll be a brave new world we live in, friends. And listen, we're headed that direction, guaranteed, because the amount of government intervention that will have to be implemented to try to even slow down the crash, much less save it, which I believe it's just way too big to save. We couldn't save the last one with government intervention. I don't know why we'd think that somehow this time would be any different. If anything, it's going to be harder to save and worse. If we get into, I don't know, some crazy scenario like the government steps in and offers to buy your house. You now rent from them, but you get to stay in the house. That would be the only way, maybe. But the catastrophic blowback would be, I believe, even too big for that one to work, and here is why. Insanity, right? I'm trying to package this the best I can. Because the minute this thing gets to that level where it requires government intervention at any level, it will be accompanied with a recession. Jobs will be lost. So this is going to be a really hard one because the economic component. And here's the thing. This real estate bubble actually is a lot different from the last real estate bubble in the essence of the last real estate bubble was an economically driven bubble and crash. It was loose lending. It was ninja loans, whatever you want to do. Say it was artificially low interest rates too. And these teaser rate, these adjustable rate mortgages, I mean, they're still out there. These are things that people are still able to get their hands on. But even with that aside, here's what's different in this real estate bubble. This one is economical, just like 2008, but then we add the three-headed monster. It's also got a social component and a political component. This was a very divided nation this go around. We didn't have the political and social strife that we have now in 2008. Things are just much different. I've always said, when you have this much screen time, you get in your car, you have a screen, you get in your pocket, you have your screen, you get in your home, you got a screen. We are such screen slaves at this point that contagion will catch on like wildfire the second this thing starts to move. Now, we already know the heavy hitters, the Bezos, the Musks, the Buffetts, they are all heavy in cash, sold out not only their stock positions, their own stock positions they actually sold out of as well. That should be a massive, massive warning sign. So the reality is this: you have to have your ducks in a row right now. You've got to be ready for absolutely anything, because anything is possible in this one. But here's the thing, my friends, like I said, we could run into a flash crash. Something could come out, a news event out of left field that just changes the narrative overnight. And I expect that potentially to be the case in this bubble. Similar in 2008, everything was fine until it wasn't. And once the airwaves started to broadcast the housing market in trouble, everybody ran for the exits. And here's the thing, with a lot of buyers, even in this bubble, similar to 2008, with very little skin in the game. And this is the challenge with that. Me as a real estate investor, I could care less where I live. I could care less about your house. I could care less about any of that. I want to provide you safety and wealth in real estate. And the only way for someone to become wealthy is to make others wealthy. When I'm getting you into a house, my conversation with you is going to be, let's look at the cost to carry this property, the standard amount down at today's interest rate. What's our cost to carry? Is it under the property's rent range? It's an insurance policy that we can pull for you just in case something ever happened to you. You don't have to lose this house. A renter can go in and start to make the payment. And better yet, a couple of years where you start to stack income properties. We buy all your properties using that very simple method, and you can have a handful of investment properties. Then later on in life, right off into the sunset. Now, I know a lot of my viewers, especially where I live in an episode of $1 Million Listing, a lot of people have an open checkbook policy. They're like, hey, I want to go buy my dream house. I could care less about anything else. I'm uber rich. That's fine. But that's a small percentage of the buyers out there. Most of them are just like you or me. Hey, I just don't want to take a bath. I don't want to get raked over the coals. And people are nervous right now. And here's the thing, my friends. In this real estate bubble, the majority of the purchases of the properties that were sold during the crisis do not pencil out, meaning people did not, and their agents certainly didn't offer them the property's rent range. All they were concerned with was another sale and a commission. And they're in trouble right now, by the way. Absolutely 100%, because a lot of these agents base their cost of living on euphoric, stimulus-driven income, and they got under a staggering cost of living based on this blip in the radar, and that's going to change. It's changed. It is changing. How do I know that, guys? Of course, I'm going to tell you, because I'm a real estate agent. I can watch my own sales, and I'm a guy that luckily owns and operates real estate diversified. I don't rely just on commissions to pay my bills. If I did, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel talking the way I'm talking right now, more than likely. I can tell you that. But there's a good chance I would, because I'm just that type of guy. I'm a very authentic salesman. And that's one of the things that you probably have come to know and hopefully enjoy about this channel is here's a guy who works in real estate that's saying the things that we've been thinking that nobody else is saying. That's, in fact, what you're getting here. But the reality is this. This bubble now has stopped. It is over. If your area is going up at all, and I know there's a few areas out there that are still registering some small appreciation rates, nothing more in line with what would be normal. But unfortunately, we're at the tail end of a euphoric, inflated, stimulus-driven, no organic growth, market-manipulated, government overreach bubble. We know that. And one of the stimulus measures was this targeted directly at the real estate market. How do we stimulate it? Well, we drop interest rates. Unfortunately, you combine that with lockdowns. So we had very limited inventory, too much demand, and you kick the can way too far down the road. The second it started to exhibit that bubble behavior, you should have risen rates right then. This was mismanaged. We can talk about all the mismanagement of our country, which I know there was a lot of, right? Everything from the wall to the borders to whatever, illegal migration into our country, the amount of government intervention targeted at these people instead of our own citizens. I mean, we could go deep. That's why I would say political, economical, and social components all in play, the three-headed monster. But the reality is this. If your area is just registering a tick or two of appreciation, that's nothing to say I'm safe here, because like I said, we're at the tail end. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing a lot of areas now reverse course. And like we know, real estate is local. It will migrate around like a forest fire. It's going to move from this city. It's going to drag the neighboring city down and so on and so forth. Every area is going to behave differently. When they reach their bottom, which we got to monitor and check and wait and see when that plays out, because right now we're just starting to see the short sales start to spike, which eventually leads to foreclosures, and then unemployment starts to go up, and then the recession gets ushered in, and then it's on, and then the government intervention will try to do what it can to hold this thing up till eventually it does what it's always done before. It's going to crash. Now, how do we find the bottom? That's going to be the million-dollar question. Now, luckily for you watching this show today, you don't have to wait for the crash or a crash even to happen. All we need to do is identify properties that can stand on their own 2 feet, meaning my cost to carry this property is under its rent range. I can always rent it for more money than it costs me to carry it. We can go shopping right now today. I'm doing it with a bunch of you. Now, the reality is this. We could have clearly a black swan event, which means a news event comes out of left field and shocks these markets, similar to 2008, right? 2008, all of a sudden, boom, we got news, housing market's in trouble, and bam, it was like a snowball effect, contagion, right? We talked about that. Now, the reality is this. What we're going to see next is either a slow bleed out of this market till we find what people are really willing to pay, because what we're seeing right now is what? Everything's going up in terms of days on market, price reductions, all that spiking. Open house signs, I'm seeing them all over. Empty commercial buildings still in play. Banks holding on to toxic debt still out there. We have a lot of things. But even if, let's say, our new president comes in and is able to orchestrate enough of stimulus to this economy in terms of, not necessarily injections of stimulus, but actually making deals, whatever he's going to do to try to gain confidence in our investment community to go out there and still play in this environment, because that's really what it's going to take. And that's a big, tall order to get people to feel comfortable enough to go out and invest in this. Now, listen, we've seen that when we know the saying from Warren Buffett, richest guy in the world, owner of the biggest brokerage in the world, Berkshire Hathaway, be greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. Financial institutions are notorious for being greedy, right? They're very exposed right now. A lot of financial institutions, builders, they're exposed. We've got a lot of toxic debt and exposure, a lot of things that just aren't sexy enough for mainstream media to report on. That's why we got to turn to channels like this, so we can read between the lines and look between the cracks and really understand the true waters that we're swimming in. In final thoughts, I come to you as a friend, as a content creator, as a real estate guy that wants to see you not only win in real estate, win in life. Understand the waters you're swimming in now, shark infested. Crash Watch 2025, it is on. We've got a lot to monitor moving forward. My advice, and I'd never suggest anybody do anything that I'm not doing or willing to do myself. If you're out there looking at properties, which I strongly urge you to do, you've got to be out there putting in the time right now, even in this current market, because you need to be comfortable if and when it's time to strike. You need a ninja on your side to make sure, listen, I just need to know this house pencils out. If so, let's test them with an offer. But if you've been wishing for a crash for Christmas, and I hope all of you had a magnificent or are having a magnificent Christmas time, there's a good chance one is coming, and I'm going to continue to monitor it every step of the way because it's not only what we need, it's in fact what we deserve. If you appreciate the content, I want to humbly ask you to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Social media links in the description of this video if you'd like to follow me there, along with links to channels I've appeared on I think you might enjoy. If you need help buying or selling real estate here in America, I have the biggest network, top-rated agents in the nation ready to assist you. It would be our honor and our privilege to do so. Email in the description for you as well. Also, if you're watching from your television set today and you enjoyed this video, you're going to love the next video. And there's an easy subscribe icon for your convenience. As always, thank you for your time. Please go make it count today. God bless, and I'll see you on the next video.